For how long are people going to believe Terrence Howard fake math story? Like, college students are so optimistic and they want to believe in that others can bring change to the forefront. Here we're going to take a look at a video, Terrence Howard at a university explaining to kids how 1 times 1 is equal to 2. Sounds crazy. But welcome to Verbal on Life. My name is Noel, battling MS. And I just cannot believe this video. And I wanted to share with you guys. Let's take a look.
What Da Vinci tried to do at 80, I did at 6 years old because I had been working on it perhaps from a past life. Now, I'm not trying to say I'm crazy or there's reincarnation or anything, but we know that energy does not die. Energy just reboots itself and reboots itself. So we are eternal. So stop panicking, thinking your life is over. You've done this trillions of times.
Amidst the flickering candlelight, Terrence Howard's confessions pierced the darkness, unraveling a tapestry of secrets that had remained hidden for generations.
But my question actually has to do with your numbers theory. So if by your logic you say 1 times 1 equals 2, are you insinuating that 1 times 0 then equals 1?
Because, okay, he's treating multiplication like addition. He's trying to say that 1 times 1 is equal to 2. And that 1 times 2 is equal to 3. So this is more like rearranges the definition of symbols and what we're trying to do. When we know in multiplication, that doesn't work out that way. But let's see. Listen to what he says, see if you can believe him.
Equals 1. Well, that's what we were saying with the identity principle, the identity property. It says that 1 times nothing equals nothing. Something, so now you have the laws of physics have to now adjust because something just disappeared. Conservation of energy, energy can't be created or destroyed. So if 1 times 0 equals 0, then what happened to the energy of the 1? Isn't that the same problem that Stephen Hawking was talking about with the event horizon and the information going in and still being present, that conflict that was started? Well, that's because of the math. The principles in the math are not founded on truth. It's not founded on substance. The identity principle, anything times 0 is 0 and anything times 1 is 1. Where is that number? Where is that exemplified in nature or in universal phenomena? Is it?
Now, I'm not going to blame the kids, right? These are children growing up and just learning the laws of life and looking to break some of the laws of life, come up with new theories and new ideas. But who I am going to blame is that guy sitting next to him. That's a grown adult. He should know better. That man been through education for a minute now, and he should know the truth of all this fictitious. The man is just acting and pretending to be a genius. Well, we all know the man is just a creative artist. The man is an actor. So all these multiplication, man, he wasn't born on damn genius. He would have not picked up acting. He would have picked up math and education. Think about it. Let's see.
Do you see that?
So then, are you saying that 1 times 5 would be 6?
Yes. Well, what does it say in the associative and commutative thing?
So you're
if A and B
proposing-
are positive integers, it says if A and B are positive integers, A is to be added to itself as many times as is indicated by units in B.
So you're not proposing an audit, you're proposing like a
Well, I'm not the first one
reconstruction
to
of
say
the way
we
we
need to do
understand
this.
math.
You know what's interesting? In 1856, a man from Liverpool named Richard Dover Statter challenged the Dewey Decimal System and said that it was wrong.
And you know what? I'll give Terrence Howard this much credit. The man memorized that script. He memorized everything that he's telling those kids, all those numbers and names and history. Man, it's just a game of memorization. The man is good at memorizing nonsense. Let's see.
and created an entirely new system to show how it can be brought into correction. So I'm not the first person to say this. It's a number of people did it, but look up Richard Dover Statter. Try and find him. You won't find him because he's been erased from history almost.
Your view on consciousness and energy sounds very similar to what Dr. Robert Lanza proposes in Biocentrism. So that may be of interest to you if you haven't read that text. But about 5 years ago, you spoke about harmonic wave sequencing and how that could
harmonic wave resequencing,
and how that could possibly solve cancer or genetic ailments within the next 5 years. I think that was about 5 years ago. So is there much progress on that? And how do you propose that this resequencing would actually recode people's genetics in order to prevent them from getting these ailments?
Simple. Our DNA is made up of what? 5 elements, right? Hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and oxygen. Do you know how they're arranged? The phosphorus sits right here in the middle, and you've got 4 oxygen atoms surrounding it. Then there's another phosphorus, 2 more oxygen atoms. Now these are the legs of that double helix. These are the legs. Now,
you know, he's very assertive. He talks like he knows what he's talking about, bringing up elements which gives him more credibility, makes him sound like he knows what he's talking about. But again, this is a game of memorization. If you could imagine this guy memorizes scripts for entire movies. So memorizing all of this nonsense is nothing for him. And then to convince the public, all you got to do is come off as assertive, like you know what you're talking about, and introduce history that most of the students they're probably not aware of. And they're going to have to do the research when they get home. And they probably won't, but that's what's expected.
The latter steps on it, they become the adenine, the guanine, the cytosine, and thymine, the ATCGs. It turns out hydrogen, they used to think that energy, the body transferred or understood the energy information through electricity. They're finding out it's through frequency. Well, guess what hydrogen sounds like? It's a key of E. Guess what? And it's the color yellow. That's what proper physics gets you to. Oxygen is a chartreuse, and it's the key of F over F sharp. Now, they used to, like I said, information used to be thought about as just electrical information passing on. But I got a question for you. Have you ever been at a party with some of your friends you ain't seen in 10 years, but y'all was like 14, you hung out and there's a song that came on and you go, ah, and everybody got up and was live at that moment. Now say 10 years later you got a friend with you. He's a good guy, but he wasn't there when me and my boys formed this. So when that song comes on, our DNA tightens.
You know what I'm thinking? Terrence Howard was probably a horrible student, and he learned none of this. He didn't learn math or anything in school. It couldn't fit into his brain. Just didn't make any sense. And maybe that's part of the reason why he's doing this. His hatred for how things actually work. It's just coming off.
There's a particular song, a scale in the genomes for each and every one of us. Now, when that song is played, when your particular prime resonant frequency is played, guess what happens? Your DNA celebrates and tightens. Everything else gets pushed out. Harmonic wave resequencing. The carbon is also the key of E and yellow. Nitrogen is G. And all these play a song. So say that the F over F sharps of the oxygen, the green, is only hitting at an F. Why? Because there's another frequency coming in from a generator over there.
Again, he's talking about all these facts, which gives him more authority, making him look like he knows what the hell he's talking about. And he could just be making all this stuff up. All this got rehearsed before showing up here. And now he's just talking, convincing people, because everybody's just quiet. Nobody fact checking him on the spot.
That's changing and causing it to change. So this F now hits the oxygen, and when it hits, when the F hits the carbon. So instead of hitting as an F sharp, it hits as an F. So when it hits the carbon at an E, it doesn't hit it quite right. So the domino don't file right. So the next domino hits wrong. And so now we have malformation happening within our DNA because the frequencies are being pushed off. But when we hear our tone, we tighten back up. So yeah, I'm in the process of building the harmonic wave resequencer with another doctor who has been able to successfully cure AIDS and cancer. And it's well underway. But I wanted you guys to understand how that works. It's so simple. You do not need to tear the human body apart when all you can do is use frequency to bring it back to its normal space.
In the dim glow of midnight, Terrence Howard descended from the shadows, bearing secrets that could shatter reality itself.
Do you think that the reason that we have like economic crises, for example, is because we are not understanding our numbers correctly, according to your theory?
Well, I think we have an economic problem because we are the only creatures in this universe that use currency. There are no other creatures that use currency in order to exist. Why is it that we chose this strange thing that isn't even real? Other creatures, they drink water, they eat fruit, they eat other animals. We exchange with currency, and our system of exchanging with currency is flawed because of greed. There's not like if 1 times 1 equals 2, we've got an equilibrium of balance. 1 times 1 equals 1, you've got loss. When 1 times 1 equals 3 or more, you're talking about over unity.
You know, one easy way that he could solve this problem, he should give all his money away. Like, I don't believe in this money, so what I do is I give it away to the poor people. Every single dollar I make, and I live on the street with the homeless crew. That would be hilarious.
Supersymmetry, and that's how you get the universe to work for you. Instead of using just the solar voltaics off of it, you also use the piezoelectric effects of it.
The man is just making up words now, and again, making up words and sounding so authoritative, like you know what the hell he's talking about. It's just giving him more credit, and people are believing him. But these are college students. College students, wow! It just goes to show they're so easily influenced. They are looking to make a change themselves and feel like they're growing and they're blowing up with this new science and these new words that Terrence Howard is using. But at the end of the day, math is not so much about theories, but application. All this stuff that we got in life built is because of math, right? We got cell phones, we got microphones, we got computers. The math worked. And so that was created. So everything he's talking about, nothing is applicable. Always, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. It's coming. But no, you're trying to defy logic, defy the current math system. Well, then create something with it. Go ahead. Walk on water, fly, whatever it is that you're going to do with that new math. Let's keep listening.
You use other things to make greater unity. But 1 times 1 equaling 1, when it could also equal a pound times a pound equaling a pound, when it could also equal $4 or $10 or $100. Does that make sense?
Yes, it actually does. 1 pound, how many are there? 1. So 1 times 1 is equal to 1. We're not talking 1 plus 1, sir.
To you, do you think the banks are abusing that? What's a quarter times a quarter? If I ask anybody in this room, what's a quarter times a quarter? That's 25 times 25. The computer will the calculator will tell you 6.25 cents.
A quarter times a quarter. So we got 0.25 times 0.25. Can I do some mental math real quick here? 2 times 5 is 10, 4, 5. Yeah, 0.6. What he said, 0.6. Whatever he said.
But we know 25 pence times 25 pence is 625 pence. That's 6 pounds and 25 pence. But the computer or the banks only have to give you 6 1/4 cents reference for it. Or let's say you put a dime times a dime. Let me get this out. Say you pay a dime times a dime. You put that in your calculator. It says 1 cent. 0.10 times 0.10 is 1 cent. But we know a dime times a dime is a whole dollar. But the banks gives us money based on that evaluation. Is that fair? And I might get shot about talking about this right now, but I've got a book coming out called Does a Dollar Times a Dollar Equal a Dollar, or Does a Dollar Times a Dollar Equal $2? And in the process, not only do I explain the death of the Platonic solids, but also introduce the new Terran wave conjugations that replace this Euclidean way of life and gives us a three-dimensional way of seeing.
So these students that maybe haven't been thinking about this or looking into things think that these words that Terrence Howard are using are legit. That they're like, wow, this sound profound. When in reality, he's just making up words here. And that's easier to do than actually coming up with ideas that actually work.
In the world.
The moonlit alley echoed with the weight of Terrence Howard's revelation, a clandestine truth that had remained veiled in the recesses of his enigmatic mind.
That's what I'm saying. Do you want to see the world in 2D or do you want to see it in 3D? Because our math right now is 2D. Our math is black and white and stick figures. I want the world in multicolor, spectral vision.
So you're saying 1 pound times 1 pound is equal to 2 pounds. But it's 1 pound squared, which doesn't make any sense because you've got a squared unit.
One
Squared. 1 pound squared.
can you divide pounds? Can you divide money? If you can divide it, you can multiply it. All these things that I showed you guys, I've patented all these things. You know why I patented them? Because in 1926, a man named Walter Russell wrote a book called The Universal One. And in it, he introduced an entirely new periodic table. And there he introduced the two heavy water elements, and then plutonium and deuterium. Both of those, all four of those elements that had never been discovered, he sent out to 800 different universities in his book. 2 years later, he watched as other people came and got Nobel Prizes for his work. Why? Because he didn't patent it. He didn't copyright it. So I copywrote all these things and patented all these things before bringing them to you.
So there you go. He tried to get credibility by saying all of this stuff, which it could be true, but it doesn't really matter. You could be patenting fake information. The people at the office, they just want to collect the fee from you. Whatever it is that you want to pay to patent whatever information you got, sure, here you go. You know, you're not going anywhere with it. You're not reinventing the wheel. Or you're not reinventing anything, actually. So comment down below, what do you think? This is insane. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, shout out to the 4,261 subscribers that I got. Moving on up. Just keep providing information for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click on that like button. The least you can do. Now, let's see what else this maniac is talking about.
They are true, and I think there's some value to them. The money is there's nothing wrong with the money, but how we deal with the money. But if you can divide money, you can multiply it. It works hand in hand. Okay, or you can't see that. You can't see dividing money.
It's a matter of definition. If you define, it's a matter of definition. A pound squared is not a unit defined.
A pound squared.
If you multiply by mathematical convention, if you multiply 1 pound by 1 pound, same as if you multiply 1 meter by 1 meter, it should be 1 pound squared or 1 square
It
meter.
becomes 2. Why does it become 1 pound squared is 2, isn't it? Now, if you look at remember what I just said about the associative and the commutative laws. It says A is to be added to itself as many times as its units in B. And the only thing that prevents that is the identity element that sits up and says, no, the Jim Crow law sits. Black people sit in the back of the bus because that's what the law.
Here we go. Now bringing in race and race identity into the conversation. What the hell does that have to do with anything?
Says without even having a foundation for it. 1 times any number is that number without a foundation, with no principle. It just says it.
But if you go by your logic and you say 1 times 1 is 2, 1 times 2 is 3, and then how would you define 2 times 4? Is that's just...
That stays. All that remains the same. Anything with 1, just add 1. The first rule of
Okay, then where's the difference between addition and multiplication?
Well, multiplication is what? Exaggerated addition. Isn't it?
But isn't it a matter of mathematical convention?
It's what is?
If it was defined in the beginning, it could have been defined differently, but logical, it makes them...
You know, Terrence Howard got like a funny accent. So I looked him up yesterday to see where is he from. Because it sounds like European or something. But he's actually from Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, what the hell are you doing pumping out these people? So Chicago, Illinois, he sounds, again, like he's from Europe. And I was just curious about that. I think his father's name is Terrence. No. His father's name is Tyrone. So I was like, okay. And then his mother's name is like Anita or something. But I got to do more research. But he got a curious accent.
The
Use
most
the mic, darling.
sorry. If you is it a matter of mathematical convention? If you define beforehand that something like logically it makes the most sense that 1 times 1, if you have one laptop, 1 times a laptop is 1 laptop. That makes more sense than you say it's 2 laptops.
Well, now if you say,
And then that's where the mathematical convention comes in, and that's like most like large part of math is convention. It's how it has been defined. It's a matter of definition.
and it's wonderful. The convention is all right if the material and the information being shared in the convention is true. But when you're talking about dogma being added in with that thing that I showed you, did you look at the square root of 2? Do you think that that's a loop? That's a natural thing with the square root of 2? Did you believe that?
Pi, there's like not a mathematical.
No, it's not the same though. It's not the same with pi. What we just did, we multiplied, we cubed the number, and then we divided it by 2, and we cubed it again and divided it by 2, and we did that a number of times, and that number still remained the same exact.
I did the proof for that, by the way. Like the square root of a number cubed divided by 2, you're always going to get back to x. So there's a proof for that, a mathematical proof that actually shows you that you get the same thing. So you're not doing anything in any ingenuity here.
Number, which we know cannot happen.
Yes, it can happen, actually.
As the city slept, Terrence Howard unveiled a cryptic journal, each page etched with the forbidden knowledge that could rewrite the destiny of nations.
It's right there. And that's what they say is the difference between, that's what they say allows 1 times 1 to equal 1, because 1, 1.414213562373095 ...
The man is a genius memorizing numbers and memorizing scripts. So he's shooting off all those numbers. Whenever you shoot off a bunch of numbers, automatically people think you're smart. 200 times 546. If I give you an answer, it's like, wow, that guy's a genius. When all he did was memorize.
Is the square root of 2. But we know that that's not the case. I tried to do it 80. I did it 6 years old because I had been working on it perhaps from a past life. We know that.
And he would go into past life phenomenon. Come on now.
That energy does not die. Energy just reboots itself. So we are eternal.
As the moon cast an enigmatic glow over the city, Terrence Howard emerged from the shadows, ready to unveil a trove of hidden knowledge that could reshape destinies.
If you lose that little spark that kept you motivated, that little piece, like this is my vocation. I love acting half the time, but there's some downfalls of it. A lot of actors end up with personality identity crisis and conflicts because you have so many characters you're playing. And if you really commit to the characters, you become like a piece of clothing. And your body becomes what they put on. And the character has a tendency of wanting to own you. They don't.
So right now, Terrence Howard is playing a character. His character is this mathematician, genius, who invents his new science, his new math, and patents it and becomes a super duper millionaire off of it. But in my opinion, he's just playing a part. Just recently, he went on the what's it called, JRE podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan just listened and actually looked like he was believing him. Crazy.
Let go. What you saw in Anthony Hopkins and Hannibal Lecter, that monster lives in him. That's why we believed it. He had to tap into something very ugly in our human nature sometimes. And as an actor, sometimes I tap into beautiful things. But like with Lucius, and the character I play with Lucius, his life is filled with turmoil. So 90% of the day I'm walking around carrying his turmoil and also the turmoil from me and my own family. And then how do you have time to really bring yourself back to who you are? Because
that's a style of acting that actors incorporate. They during the show, they are the character. They incorporate themselves into acting. And for that moment, for that brief moment, they are who the character is. So like that, they could do a better job of convincing the audience of it.
That's the most important thing. That's the thing that's going to bother you more than anything else. You will look at yourself one day and you won't know who you are because you don't remember who you were. You know, sometime along the way, or maybe at 13 or 14, we let go of the little person that kept us going. That little person that was always there. I got you, man. I'm here. I got you. Don't go in there. I ain't going in there.
And it's crazy that right there, Terrence Howard looks normal, but like he had other clips where he wears a wig, and like that's normal Terrence Howard. Him looking all pretty and with a wig and crazy pink shirt, crazy stuff.
That person, when we get about 13 or 14, we get embarrassed of him, and we push him aside and we don't listen to him anymore. And he's always knocking. Hey. And after so long of a time, maybe 10, 15 years, you don't even know him. You show up at your own door and you don't even know who you are. Your family doesn't know who you are. So it's important, no matter what you do, no matter what challenges you go through, you remember who you are.
The air crackled with tension as Terrence Howard stepped onto the stage, a man burdened with untold truths, about to shatter the illusions that had blinded the world.
Now, you know, this is one of the oldest symbols in human history, right? Or do you not know? This symbol was found in the Temple of Osiris in Egypt, and it had been molecularly burned into the wall. And it's 6,000 years old. This same symbol has been found in the forbidden temples in China, sitting.
So he's bringing up facts, and people are thinking this is true because nobody's going to fact check him on the spot. They're just sitting down listening. Nobody looking at their phone.
Under the foo-foo dogs, and the foot on it, the flower of life, saying whoever controlled that flower of life controlled the universe. There were secrets in that flower of life that Da Vinci spent his whole life trying to uncover. There were secrets in that flower of life that Newton spent his whole life in secret trying to uncover. The same secrets that Pythagoras was desperately trying to uncover. But the problem was they kept seeing this in a two-dimensional space. They couldn't get it out of this two-dimensional frame. And as a result, they got stuck in this plane, a flat plane. Now, what Da Vinci and all of them wanted to do, they were trying to find a way to bring this flower to life, because what is inside of it? Well, apparently, there were secrets inside of it. Shapes, they got the Merkaba and all of those other things out of it. But they were misled by something I think called a straight line. You guys believe in straight lines? You believe there's straight lines in the universe? Well, let me hit you with something. All energy in the universe is expressed in what? It's in motion. If something is still, there's no energy. Kinetic, right? All motion is expressed in what? You look at galaxies. Are they expressed in straight lines? Expressed in vortices. All vortices are expressed in what? Waves. All waves are curved. Show me a straight line in nature. You show me where the platonic solids come from. Where do they have their foundations in our universe? Are there any straight lines?
You know, he really prepared for this part. Like this man just studied how to say all this fake information, and similar to preparing for a part for a movie. He read the script and he's ready to go. And now he's doing the show in front of the kids. And I think at the end of the day, college students are the easiest one to convince. Those are the ones that are not going to push back. I'm just going to go with whatever you have to say.
If you look at anything, there are no straight lines. That's been the mistake. We've been looking at these straight lines, this Euclidean way of thinking, and missing the curvature of nature.
Beneath the neon lights, Terrence Howard's voice echoed through the silent crowd, each word carrying the weight of a revelation, threatening to dismantle the foundations of reality.
Do you believe in loops? Do you know the square root of 2? Do you think that's a loop? Do you believe that the square root of 2 is the square root of 2? Yes or no? Hands up? No? I want y'all to take out your phone for a minute then. We're going to do one thing. Everybody got a phone? Put it on the calculator and turn it to the side so you can get all the long numbers out of it, okay? Now I want you to put in 2 and square root it. 2, hit the square root. You'll get 1.414213562373 095 ... right? Now I want you guys to do me a favor. Cube it. It'll see right over there. It'll be x to the 3. Can y'all do it? Have you cubed it? It'll see 2.828, 4271, 2174, 6190. Now that makes sense. I want you guys to do me a favor. Divide it by 2. Get that number? Cube it again. Divide it by 2. Cube it again. And I want you to do that until the end of your lives. And that number will still come up with 2.828, 4271, 2174, 6190.
There's already a proof showing that the number doesn't change when you cube it and divide it by 2. So it's already been proven. Nobody here is going to pick out a pencil and paper and show him that, dude, it's already been proven. It's always going to be the same number.
Any other number that you, above 2, that you put in and you cube and you square, cube and square and divide by 2, by the 6th operation, it has moved into an exponential number that you can't even imagine. Any number below 2 that you do that same operation with, it will go into an exponentially small matter and number. This is what we call a loop. It is illogical, it doesn't make sense, and it does not make math make sense. So these are some things that I'm bringing to the fore and that I would like to question. I would like to audit the math, the world of mathematics, and I would like to audit how we view the Platonic solids, because I think the new wave conjugations will tell a better story of how our world works.
In a clandestine meeting, Terrence Howard shared clandestine wisdom with a select few, his words a catalyst for a storm of...
This video got 3.6 million views in 1 month. So I could only imagine how many people believe him or believe what the hell he's talking about. Let me see if I can find the JRE clip where he sits down with Joe Rogan to discuss these new ideas. I'm thinking Joe Rogan invited him because Joe Rogan been seeing that he's catching views off of it. He got 3.6 million views off of it. When at the end of the day, I should have went this way, sorry. So when at the end of the day, he's just straight up lying. This man makes no sense.
Reincarnation or anything, but we know that energy does not die. Energy just reboots itself and reboots itself. So we are eternal. So stop panicking, thinking your life is over. You've done this trillions of times.
Amidst the flickering candlelight.
Here you go with Joe Rogan.
What's the matter?
What I can see on that screen is not what I can see on my computer screen. I can't even see that.
It's the fucking government, man.
You think it's not?
I think it is sometimes. I assume they listen to everything I say.
They do.
I'm sure.
They do. You
It's
took
a lot of boring shit. Best artists are some of the most fucked up people. My favorite musicians, my favorite comedians.
This video already got 5.7 million views in just 5 days. Whoa.
Officials came down, doctors, and they went through the black community and they said, there's a sickness in all of you guys and we're going to cure it free of charge. And they injected the black population with syphilis and left it untreated for 60 years and just watched how it ravaged the body. For 60 years, it wasn't stopped until like 1970s, late 70s, that they stopped the experiment. And I don't even know if they've paid reparations. So the government has been using all of these chemical warfare or biological warfare.
Again, Terrence Howard bringing up facts, convincing Joe Rogan of all these nonsense.
Cord around his neck. I shouldn't have done all of this, but it came out wonderful and fine. And this little boy, first thing he wanted to do is see light. He loved lights from that early stage. And I can ask him the square root of 2, the square root of 5, the square root of that, the square root of pi, the square, and he will run it off. But he's just like, his personality is like Forrest Gump, you know.
All right, I'm not going to play too much of this video because I might get a strike for showing a Joe Rogan podcast. But again, Terrence Howard, the man is going around. He's been doing this for a while now. Just going around teaching people about this new math, these new terminologies that he got. And people are listening. And some people must be believing him because over 5 million views on Joe Rogan. And then on the other clips, he got millions of views. Is a sad thing about the internet. They believe the nonsense they hear. But if you stuck around this long, my name is Noel, battling MS. Welcome to Verbal on Life. If you like the clip, make sure you hit the like button. Shout out to the 4,621 subscribers that I got. The trick is not to give up, to keep pushing forward. Now, let me run a different clip. You know, today's a great day. Happy Thursday. Today, Donald Trump is going to be showing up in South Bronx. I can't even remember the last time any presidential candidate went to campaign in the South Bronx. Like going to Corona Park or Corona Park. No, I think it's Corona Park, the worst area of the Bronx. And he's showing up there to speak with the people. I'm assuming it's going to be packed. I should have went over there. I should have canceled everything in life and headed to the Bronx because this is insane. Here's a clip by AOC bugging out.
Like struggling, people are getting desperate too. That brings the crime up. When you get poverty and you get a bunch of people that come here that get actually more benefits than the people that been here, then what?
This is real America. This right here, people are paying 30, 40% more. We were just going to buy Windex to clean the windshield. Everything is expensive. Everybody is hurting. People need to see that their leader cares about them. And Donald Trump does care about them. And that's why he's coming here.
Why do you want to see Donald Trump tomorrow? Well, Donald Trump is the man. Everybody wants to see Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is the man.
You heard him. Donald Trump is the man. And that is why the Democrats are in total meltdown mode over this upcoming Trump rally in the Bronx. We got the latest on that. Plus, as things stand, Biden's not going to be on the Ohio ballot. We're going to see the latest campaign catastrophe for Sleepy Joe and what it all means for control of the Senate. You are
Wait, so if he's not going to be on the Ohio ballot, I only assume two things. Either one, they're going to fix it before November, or number two, they're just giving Ohio to Trump because he's not going to be on the ticket. Crazy.
not going to want to miss this. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patriot professor, here to help you stay sane in these insane times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button, and let's dive right in.
Bronx today, Fox and Friends weekend co-host Rachel Campos Duffy went there to see what residents are thinking of the former president.
Are you happy that he's coming here?
That's a good step for him. That's a good step for him. Yeah, him coming here is going to bring light to the hood. Him coming here is going to show that at least he's trying.
How will he be received here?
Open arms.
Really?
Open arms. Everybody going to show him love. You come show love, they're going to show you love right back.
Should Joe Biden come?
Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe got to wake up if you want to come.
I love the bling. Fox and Friends Weekend co-host Rachel Campos Duffy joins us. RCD, great to see you as always. Yeah. Let's cut right to the chase. The question everybody wants the answer to. After being there and speaking with the people, do you realistically think that New York is in play for Donald J. Trump?
Well, the South Bronx is. I mean, I was shocked. Honestly, I thought I was going to get a mixed bag. I interviewed dozens of people on a street corner, random. I only had one person who had something negative to say about Donald Trump.
Wow.
Everybody else was super honored and happy that someone was going to come and see the degradation of their neighborhood. They are so unhappy. Crime, inflation. They just are like, yes, please, somebody come and show us some love.
Now, this is huge. This seriously, what you just saw there is so absolutely huge because at one level, it's 2016 all over again. Okay, remember, one of the key things that Trump did to flip nearly 200 counties throughout Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania that had voted Democrat in every single presidential election since 1984, but who turned around and voted in mass for Trump in 2016 and 2020, is he held rallies in counties that never before ever had a presidential candidate.
Look, if Trump goes to the Bronx and they're expecting to be maybe 3,500 people, I think that's the capacity. But I have a feeling that more than that are going to show up. So if more than that shows up, like in New Jersey, And New Jersey had a big turnout, like 100,000. So if we get a big turnout in the Bronx, man, that's for sure. He might be able to flip New York. If he flips New York, it's a wrap. It's over. Trump got this.
To visit them. His whole theme of 2016 was that the forgotten man and woman of America is forgotten no longer. And he's doing it. He's really check this poll out that just dropped from New York. It's from Siena Research. I mean, gang, take a look at this. Biden's lead over Trump is now in the single digits, 9 points, in a state that voted for Biden by nearly 25 points in 2020. And to make matters even worse, Biden's lead shrinks to 7 when RFK is added to the mix. 7, gang. A 7-point lead in a plus 27 Democrat constituency. That's what they found in the poll sampling. There were 27% more Democrats among those who were surveyed in New York in this poll. Again, that would tend to overlap with the results in New York in 2020. But not now. If polls like this one are accurate, we are seeing a dramatic collapse in support for Biden among Democrats. But of course, you'll never hear that from the mainstream media. I mean, you all know that with the current climate of the media industry, I mean, navigating the sea of...
Yeah, let me just say the media is part of the Democratic Party. So they're just pushing the Democratic agenda, the Democratic talking point. So therefore, you're never going to hear all the positive things that is happening with Trump. Unless something bad happens, then they bring up this is what's bad that happened to Trump. So we live in some crazy times.
61 articles have covered this story. But interestingly, 60% of the sources are right.
Where's AOC?
Over Trump holding a rally in her very own district.
He needs money. He's hosting a rally to try to con people and try to fleece them out of every dollar that they have to fund his own legal fees. And by the way, he's doing it in the South Bronx, not to make a point, but because he's got court. And the man practically has the legal version of an ankle bracelet around him, and he can't leave the 5 boroughs because he always has to be in court.
This woman has the IQ of a cup of juice because, yes, that's exactly why he's in New York, because the Democrats, she's basically admitting to election interference.
Well, thank you for being too stupid to recognize that you just said the quiet part out loud, AOC.
Yeah, just having Trump on an ankle bracelet so he can't go nowhere, supposed to hold him back, and instead Trump is flipping it and making it work for him. The man is a genius. So if he could use this information or he uses tactic and flip New York, it's over. We only got a couple of more weeks until June debate. That's going to be phenomenal. And definitely I want to try to cast a video later when Trump shows up. Let me see what I got. When Trump shows up, it's going to be amazing. So Bronx wants Trump. Look at this video. You know, I was going to go to the Bronx today, but it got to be packed. Like the roads got to be closed. It's going to be insane.
It's 6 years old because I had been working what Da Vinci tried to do at 80. I did it 6 years old because...
All right, I'm not even going to play it anymore. Oh, look at this guy calling him a real genius.
What's going on, y'all? That boy Gam back in the building, tapping in with y'all one more time. Y'all, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. But today, I was just checking out a video of Terrence Howard on the Joe Rogan podcast, right? He says Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton were wrong. Now, am I the only person who didn't know that Terrence Howard was a real genius? Am I the only person who didn't know that?
Like I said, this guy just called Terrence Howard a genius. And he got 1,000 views in 2 days. I mean, why is Terrence Howard a genius? Let's see.
I was surprised all of a sudden he come out and he is like literally talking like a legit genius. He got I was surprised all of a sudden he come out and he is like literally talking like a legit genius.
And by the way, I hated that movie that he made, the Terrence Howard made, called Hustle and Flow. Horrible movie. definitely makes sure to keep everybody down or the black community down. Swear to God, he's adding to the destruction of intelligence.
Yeah, patents. He said he figured this stuff out when he was a kid. He even said that he kind of sold himself short by becoming an actor and pursuing acting because he believed that he was way too smart for acting. And from the stuff that he's saying on here, it kind of sounds like he not lying. You know, it's easy for people to excuse this, like this is just crazy. He just talking.
And that's the amazing ability of a creative actor. If anybody on television can convince you of anything, that means they're doing a great job at acting. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Robert De Niro, every Brad Pitt, every big actor out there, their goal is to make you believe in them, not in them as a person, but in them as a character. So if you believe this character of Terrence Howard, then you're doing an excellent job. But there's no genius in here.
Crazy. But Joe Rogan is also a pretty smart guy. He talked to a lot of people, smart people on the show.
That's what I'm going to blame also the adults listening and nobody pushing back. You know, it gives him credibility when the adults stay quiet and just listening and are too afraid to push back and tell him to shut up. What the hell are you talking about? You know, so Joe Rogan has a little bit of blame because Joe Rogan should have said something like, yo, my man, you make no sense making up words and math numbers here.
Geniuses. And he sound like he leaning towards, he believed Terrence Howard. He believed that he got a point. And a lot of other people believe that Terrence Howard is actually right.
Now that young man looks young. So he is falls for these absurdities. He's falling for all these, wow, we got a genius coming out, bringing out the truth when we don't. This is a joke. So later on, he might do another video podcast where he just laughing, Terrence Howard fooled me. It's all a joke. Oh, swear to God. I'm 45 years old. I've been around the block. I'm a grown adult. And I could tell you, this is nonsense.
I'm surprised. I never knew he was a genius, man. He was on Empire, Lucius. You know, he was a
genius actor. The creative arts is so different than the sciences. This man did not pursue science because his skills are in acting, period.
Hustle and flow, playing a role as a pimp, get rich or die trying, all kind of, things. I was always a fan of his movies, but I didn't know he was a legit genius, man. I'm gonna just play this just so y'all can see what I mean.
You show me a real straight line in nature. If everything in the universe, everything is expressed in motion, all motion expressed in waves, all waves were curved.
So man, somebody got to give them a ruler. Get yourself a ruler, and that's a straight line built by us, created by us. Period.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the greater the action, the greater the reaction. The greater the reaction, the greater the resistance. The greater the resistance, the greater the curvature. Because the universe is based off of equanimity, which Einstein left out in his theory of relativity. The balancing side of the gravity was caused by electric force. Electricity is always seeking a higher pressure condition. It spins northeast, is trying to get to the center of an area, the center of a cone. But the next electric wave is coming, so it gets pushed out, and as it's pushed out, it gets to the vortices. And that.
All right, I'm not going to listen anymore. This nonsense. But you heard it here first. Again, thank you for joining me here at Verbal Live. My name is Noel, battling MS, and I just wanted to talk about Terrence Howard and his BS about his fake math and fake scientific words, and people believe in him. Don't believe him. It's a lie. It's already been proven wrong, and that's the end of that. Peace.
Verbal or life.